In 1996, we were rewarded with a perfect lesbian film that isn't a lesbian film. It's Bound 1996, starring Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon. Personally, my favorite movie with a lesbian storyline at its center, but that's because it was the first ever gay anything that I watched in my life, and it was straight up these two ladies getting it on, and I was changed. Maybe this is what turning gay feels like, that moment when you're like, what? Which is weird that it happened with two women because not attracted to them now. But I wanted to cover it this month because I wasn't sure if it still held up to, how perfect it seemed in my mind after not having watched it for a few years. So I went ahead and rewatched it, and it really holds up. I had no idea that it was directed by the Wachowskis, who did The Matrix, so it kind of made sense after the fact. I was like, okay, yeah, the cinematography, the camera angles, the vibe, the feel of the film is very similar, has a very punk energy throughout, I think. But the film works because it's not relying on the lesbians to pull it off. The film actually has a good plot, actually has a good script, actually has good acting, and the focus of the story isn't even that they're lesbians, it's that they want to escape and start fresh. So let's talk about Bound and how it's actually easily one of the most daring acts of resistance against the patriarchy. The film's story, not necessarily the film. For the film to have been a transgressive act of resistance, then it would have needed more coverage, I guess. But the story itself is like a microcosm of what it means to completely reject the patriarchy, but f them over on your way out, because that's what we want to do. We want to take back the power, but we also want to throw a jab or two in. We're doing petty today. We're petty. The movie follows Violet and Corky. Violet is married to a gangster, a guy who washes the money for the mafia. And Corky is a fresh out of prison butch lesbian. They meet in fleeting passage in the hallways of the building, and Corky immediately catches Violet's attention. As we'll find out, Violet is a closeted lesbian who is living the life of a mobster wife to get by. It's her way of moving through the world with her talents. She's realized that she's good at it, and out of it, for the time being, she got a very cushy lifestyle with not really much to do. However, recent events involving the mafia and people trying to embezzle from the mafia have raised the stakes of violence around her husband's job, and Violet wants out. A lot of my preconceived notions of lesbians growing up, I realize in hindsight, come from Bound, because Violet and Corky's relationship evolves very quickly over the course of, I want to say, 2 days, and they are fully locked in, ready to over the mafia. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, lesbians after the second date really do buy a house. Another preconceived notion was the image of Corky as the ultimate lesbian. She is a ultra masculine, sensual woman who's not afraid to get down and dirty, but then she's also like really hot undressed. So when she washes off of the masculine persona she puts on, she's also a really sexy woman. I must have been so confused growing up watching this for the first time. But that was my idea of Corky, the masculine lesbian who will put her life at risk if it means saving the love of her life. So, like a man that isn't toxic, almost. And yeah, the relationship evolves very quickly. They have 2 encounters. The first one is at home. There's a lot of tension that the Wachowskis built in these scenes, and I think these 2 are some of the hottest sequences that there are in cinema. The first one, they're fully clothed, they're on the sofa, and they're sadly interrupted by Violet's dumbass husband, Caesar. But the second one, they go all the way, baby, and I cannot even imagine how it was to choreograph this scene. I can't show you any of it, but they are both in their birthday suits, and it's very passionate and sensual. It was really well done, and that was the first ever scene that I ever saw of gay sex. And it had 0 men in it. Looking back at these memories is so funny because I still turned out a big flaming Reasons why Bound is so cool. First of all, it's a lesbian movie that isn't a lesbian movie. So it has lesbian characters at its center, a lesbian storyline, but the movie itself isn't about the fact that they're lesbians or not lesbians or closeted, trying to come out. The movie is about Violet escaping this prison of a life she's found herself in and using Corky as a means to escape. Also, Corky represents a future that she can have where she no longer has to deal with these dangerous matters. It's never about, oh, I want to be a lesbian now, or that woman turned me. It's more about Violet being done with her life and wanting to start fresh. And here's a beautiful woman that she is insanely attracted to who can help her, and together they can have a happy life. So it really is about escaping the mafia. That's not to say that they don't mention it. The second time they meet, we do get a bit of backstory, and I think it represents so beautifully two very different lived experiences as lesbians. So Corky is more that butch lesbian that has sort of grew up a bit more masculine and has moved through the world as a masculine woman. And that got her in prison. Whereas Violet has realized that her skills rely more on being this very feminine woman that is very appealing to men, so she can be on the safe side. But ultimately, they both end up rejecting the patriarchy completely. Violet for being the epitome of what a man wants a woman to be, who rejects men, and Corky for being the woman who rejects all aspects of the patriarchy, including the archetype of what an attractive feminine woman needs to be. And when two radical acts of resistance collide, you get hot sex. Now, the Kickstarter plot point to the story is that Violet wants out of her marriage. There's been some escalation of violence with associates trying to embezzle money from the mafia. Her husband, Caesar, is responsible for laundering money for the mafia, and they are in the process of retrieving $2 million that some other guy laundered from the mafia. These $2 million in 1996 would have been fucking jackpot. Nowadays, probably not worth anyone's time because we're all really fucking poor. But back then, it was the ultimate prize. I hope they invested. I hope they invested the money and made it multiply over the years, because if they thought 2 million was going to last them for a lifetime, nope. I have seen some criticism for the violence in the film and for the sexual scenes in the film, and I just got to say that you need to grow up. Okay, bound, violent, not really, and too sexual. No, if anything, the violence feels tamed down. This was the 90s. I think a movie like this would be a lot more violent today, a lot gorier, a lot more explicit. But also the sex scenes, they were daring for the time, right? Today, I don't think it would crack anyone's top 10 headlines. But back then, it was like major news. But the movie itself needs these two very intense scenes because the whole storyline, the whole believability of what the characters are doing relies on the insane amounts of chemistry between these two women. And the actresses did a really good job because I was a kid, pre-puberty, watching this and thinking, oh wow, what the hell? Mind you, I shouldn't have been watching this film before puberty. I was not ready, but I could be, again, the living proof that just because you want to push something on someone, don't mean it's gonna stick. Because any straight kid watching this would have probably been really happy to see too, because lesbians are a big fetish for straight men. It made me a big fairy. So if anything, it accelerated the process. But I like the scenes. I think they were really important to really establish this very strong connection that these two characters have, because they devised this whole plan after knowing each other for like 2 days, 3 max. You can't have normal people do that, or they'll think that all lesbians are like that. You have to make it extra sensual, so they'll believe that these two women really are made for each other. And I believed it, even after I rewatched it last week, because it's done well. I don't know if this movie is problematic or not for anyone, but I would like to defend it to the ends of the earth, because it's one of my comfort films from childhood, where a bunch of gangsters are killed in brutal ways. The plan is simple. There's this rival gangster called Johnny. Johnny likes to flirt with Violet, and Johnny is coming with his father Gino in a few days to pick up the $2 million that Caesar has retrieved from the guy that was stealing from the mafia. After Caesar washes off all the blood from the money, he's gonna take a shower. Violet is gonna break a bottle of Gino's favorite whiskey, so she has an excuse to step outside and go buy a new one at the store, all while Caesar is in the shower. And while this happens, Corky is gonna sneak into the apartment. She's gonna empty the suitcase, fill it up with newspapers, and get out with the money. Then Violet's gonna say on her way in that she just saw Johnny leave. She missed him, she didn't get to speak to him, but she saw him leave. So she's assuming that Johnny's already been to the apartment and took the money with him. Caesar, of course, hasn't seen Johnny, so he's going to assume that Johnny snuck into the house, stole the $2 million, and then is going to come back later with his father, Gino, and frame Caesar for stealing $2 million. Caesar is then going to freak out and escape before Gino and Johnny come over, because he's going to get killed for stealing from them, allowing Violet and Corky to escape with the money and start fresh. And the whole plan would have been great, except Violet and Corky underestimate how much of a psychopathic idiot Caesar is, because when the switcheroo happens, Caesar decides to stay and confront Johnny. Violet tries leaving, but he's like, no, you're staying, because for all I know, you and him are in this together. And this is when shit hits the fan, and this is when it gets to be like a good gangster film, because from here on out, all the moments are built on tension. That what's he gonna say? What are they gonna find out? And it's this game of deception and tension where you're waiting to see when it all goes downhill. And it all goes downhill when Caesar opens the suitcase and there's no money, and he confronts Johnny in front of everyone, accuses him of stealing from his father right in front of his father, and in the altercation ends up killing Johnny, their security guard, and shooting Gino as well. He's wiped out these two very powerful mobsters, and is now using Violet to help him clean up the bodies and look for the actual money in Johnny's apartment. Corky's getting uneasy because she hasn't heard from Violet and she doesn't know what's happening. They go to Johnny's place, but the money isn't there. The money is not in Johnny's car. So now Caesar is freaking out because there's a bigger gangster called Mickey, and Mickey needs his money. There's a lot of... I love gangster films because they're always Italian, and it's the least Italian thing ever. It's American Italian. You know, the whole mobster culture, they call it the Italian mob. But is it really the Italian mob? Isn't it just the American Italian? Because I think that Italian culture has metamorphosized itself into something completely new in New York. Sorry, I find it funny how they all just pronounce the Italian name really Italian. Like, whoa, where did that come from? It's like Johnny Marzone. Eventually and unfortunately, Caesar discovers Violet and Corky's plan through this very well choreographed scene. Corky and Violet are talking on the phone on opposite sides of the same wall, and then Caesar walks in, hits redial. She answers but doesn't speak. He hits redial again. Then he hears the phone going off in the apartment next door, and they're discovered. It's really tense and really well done, and I like it when a script makes use of its space so well to further the plot without it being overly complicated. Caesar ends up knocking out Violet and overpowering Corky, and now he's got them both tied up, and he wants to know where the money is. And Corky ends up telling him that the money is inside paint buckets in her apartment, also Violet could keep all of her fingers. And isn't that the most romantic lesbian thing that you could do? There's a joke in there. Have I said how much I love lesbians? He then hatches another plan, this time with Violet, to deceive the ultimate mobsters that are coming over. Mickey and his pal, something. The plan is simple. When the mobsters come over, Caesar is going to greet them, and Violet is going to call Caesar from the bedroom so he has a reason to pick up a phone. She'll pretend she's Johnny and that they got into a car accident and are running late, which gives them the perfect explanation as to why Johnny hasn't dropped by to get the cash. And they narrowly avoid Mickey checking the suitcase before he leaves, and he just takes a suitcase full of newspapers. In the chaos that ensues, Violet breaks free from Caesar, then escapes. Corky frees herself, but is once again overpowered by Caesar, and this is the one thing that I hate about the film, is that he overpowers her so easily. I don't think so. Sir, if you're fighting Gina Gershon in that updo, she's beating your ass. Look at her. This is the hottest a woman has ever existed on screen. And then my favorite scene, Violet shows up, she has a gun, and she's holding it against him, and he comes with one of those bullshit speeches of, you're never gonna shoot me because you need me, and I'm all you need, and blah, 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 and she's like, you don't know shit. And psh, psh. I don't know if she says shit, but she shoots him.
Caesar, you don't know shit.
And he drops dead in the middle of white paint, and she frees up Corky, and this was after Violet already called Mickey, saying that Caesar escaped and forced her to lie about the money and apologizing. So now Mickey thinks that Caesar stole all the money, killed all those mobsters, and ran away. And he ends up proposing that she becomes his girlfriend, but she's like, no, I need a fresh start. She has that voice. Jennifer Tilly's voice is just so perfect for this character because she's the ultimate seductress.
What you heard wasn't sex.
What the fuck was it?
Work.
She moves through this world dominated by men with such ease because she knows how to use her assets. She knows what men see in her, and she knows how to use it for her advantage. And that is just the ultimate you to the patriarchy. And in the end, Violet and Corky are free to start fresh with $2 million, which in this economy is going to last them a long time if they live in a really, really rural area disconnected from the world and grow their own food for the rest of their life and never need healthcare again. Or move to Europe and get free healthcare. Do that. And that's Bound 1996, guys. What do y'all think? Isn't this such a gem from the 90s? The ultimate act of resistance. Down with men! Let's bring misandry back. And I think that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like down below. Subscribe to my channel. We talk about fun shit over here. Also, leave a comment down below. What was your favorite part of Bound? What did it evoke in you when you were a kid? What did it, what kind of awakening did it lead to? I want to know. And until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, stay stuttering. Bye, guys.